red. Yeah, the paint from the field on him. Like, if I think of jersey number 15, I just instantly think of Tim Tebow for some reason.
Here's mine, and it is random, but also he was a starter, so he played a lot. Aaron Sterling, defensive end for the Gamecocks.
I don't think I would have got to that one, so we're not literally having the same brain.
No love for
Chris and I write the same articles. It's just about who gets to it first without even speaking of it.
Yeah, you guys think alike. Great minds think alike, right?
Saturday.
Sometimes.
Saturday is a big day because, as you said, Tyler, it is the last scrimmage. And so this has really got to be the transitional time between, school starting back. You're going to get from preseason camp where it's unlimited time with the players. The players are basically, not literally. Please don't take it literally.
They're employees.
They're locked up in the facility. They're eat, sleep, breathe, everything. Football.
Not allowed to see their family. Not allowed to see their friends. Just nothing but football.
One phone call a week.
No college football 25.
Nope. None of that.
Can't use the recording studio. It's all football. And so they're holed up in there, all football, unlimited. But then you kind of turn the page when school starts back. You get into now it's time to prepare for Old Dominion. You get that prep time. You're scaling back how much time you can spend with players to, I think, 4 hours a week or so. But this scrimmage is kind of the cut line of if there's some guys on the roster where you're trying to figure out what is this guy's role? Does he have a significant role this year? Going through the list, Wes, of, I don't know, we'll get to this. There are a lot of guys that are going to contribute from the freshman class. You look at a very heavy transfer class, brought in, I think, 20 scholarship guys. A lot of those guys are going to play roles. So this is, and there's been a lot of talk about the improved depth of this team, but this second scrimmage is the closest approximation to a game. So this is the staff's best opportunity in that type of setting to really assess this team to figure out who do you have and in what role, and then go out and start getting ready for Old Dominion.
I think this scrimmage, do we start to hear a little bit about a bounce back from the offense? Because it was pretty clear from everything we heard last week, much like in the spring, that defense was ahead. And I think based on what we know on paper, that should not be surprising at all. I mean, that is a veteran defense. We've talked about that. Are there a few freshmen that are going to play roles? Yes, there are. But for the most part, you start filling out what we would say is the two deep. And even newcomers, you're saying, well, hey, that guy's played a bunch of ball. He understands football and has played at the college level. And so, I look at that not as a huge alarm, but I do think it would be a somewhat positive occurrence if we heard some things about, hey, offense bounced back a little bit this week. Now, from what I heard about last week, kind of like what we even talked about in terms of, hey, this is going to be their first time out there with no help, so to speak. Like I heard essentially they turned them loose, and it was kind of a fairly big install going into Saturday. It was not shocking at all based on what I just said, but also just kind of how they kind of threw them to the wolves to see how they react. Not a surprise at all that the offense did not have a ton of success in that situation last week. But so this week, and then kind of leading into next week before you really turn the page to ODU, is a big situational week. And so that's, situational football essentially from a practice standpoint is, hey, we're not just out there doing 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. It's, hey, this is goal line from the 10. Hey, here's goal line from the 2. What plays do we have designed on both sides to score in that situation? 3rd and 10. If you're a quarterback and you're dropping back to throw, you're going to make a different decision on 3rd and 10 than you are on 1st and 10. Let's do 3rd and short. Hey, let's do what they call the high red zone. Let's situationally, what are some of our favorite plays in that spot, and how do we make decisions in that spot? So a huge part of this week leading into next week has been diving into situational football. So you're going to hope again, you're always like, all right, well, if the offense did well, did the defense do bad? If the defense did well, did the offense do bad? Really, you're going to just hope you see some solid execution on both sides in terms of knowing what to do in those situations.
And I imagine a lot of that closing the gap, because like you said, through the spring and even through the first scrimmage, it's not surprising that the defense is ahead of the offense. With the offense, though, and again, they've not given us the insight. We don't have a depth chart or anything like that, but I think a lot of what goes into the offense closing that gap is really nailing down who those guys are going to be as your starters, your ones at those different spots, because I imagine through camp there's been a lot of rotating, figuring out that. But again, we're 2 weeks away from the start of the season. Hopefully you have at least, 95% of the idea of what your offense is going to look like from a starting standpoint?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's nailing down, focusing in on who your main guys are, but also on what your offense is going to be. Like you start out, hopefully, with a pretty big playbook, and then as you get into the season, you kind of whittle that thing down. As you get into preseason, you kind of whittle that thing down. As you get towards the first game, you whittle it down even more. And then when you go into a game week, you really have your package of plays that you have sort of said, hey, here's our base plays, and here are our plays that we think work against our expectation for that defense based on their scheme and their personnel. And so it does make it a good bit easier to execute on offense once you have whittled this thing down. I don't know how many plays Dow Loggins carries into a game. I'm sure it's different to an extent for every offensive coordinator, Chris, but actually just sort of whittling it down and being like, hey, these are the plays we're running in a couple of weeks, and let's focus on getting these right, I think does help on offense. But if you're the staff, that's another decision, right? Like you are making those decisions. What are we carrying into the game? And for all the talk about a new quarterback, for all the talk about Rocket Sanders, for all the talk about this thing is going to look different, we don't know what that actually means. You know what I mean? Like from a scheme standpoint, like is this going to be heavy on what Dow Loggins witnessed at Arkansas with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders? Is this going to be heavy on the Sean Elliott at Georgia State approach? How much say does Mike Shula have, who was with Buffalo and Josh Allen before he came here to South Carolina, and prior to that was in an even bigger role, both quarterbacks coach and then OC with Cam Newton with the Panthers. So, and I mentioned those two guys. Obviously, they're big names, but they have running ability at the quarterback position. So, ultimately, you take everything I just said, it falls on Dow Loggins' shoulders to make those final decisions on this offense with some input from the top, right, and Shane Beamer. Which guy does he lean on? Which sort of approach does he lean on? I think big picture, we know, hey, they're going to run the ball more. They're going to involve the QB run. They're going to get the ball to Rocket Sanders. That part's easy. But in what way, I think, will be it's something we still don't know, and we probably won't find out until 15 days from now.
And I think when you look, you can extend that out. What's the biggest question mark, aside from just what does this thing look like, just from a personnel standpoint? The receiver position is the biggest question mark. Even though it hasn't been officially announced, Lenore Sellers is going to be your starting quarterback.
When do you think that is announced?
I do wonder if it's after the second scrimmage.
That would be a good...
But there's not, at the same time, Beamer will have just come off the practice field. We haven't watched the tape yet, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Maybe Carolina calls one night.
Which returns next Thursday, by the way.
Here on 107.5.
Here on 107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
Is it just something, maybe they're just waiting to release the entire depth chart as a whole, as opposed to just saying...
No depth chart.
Well, yeah.
In the game notes?
Yeah, the game notes. Yeah, like, hey, which again, like, we know he's the starter, right? Like, this isn't some long-held secret. We know it's going to happen. We're just waiting on the official word about it.
But, but to go to back to the kind of original point, like, your quarterback, your running back, like you have a pretty good sense of what different guys can do. You're kind of still gathering that, but like, what does that look like? You still, internally, it's probably been whittled down a little bit more, and this Saturday will be big, but if we went up and down the roster, there's 8, 9, 10 guys at receiver. Are they going to travel 10 receivers during the year? I mean, that might get tough, So, like, what does that look like? And then some of those guys are, we like this guy in this situation. So there are some tough decisions. Michael Smith is a freshman. That's been a guy when Shane Beamer has talked about receiver and how they have a lack of size there. Aside from, a Delvon Campbell, they're smaller at receiver. It is what it is. He's talked about, hey, well, our tight ends, Michael Smith, Josh Simon, Brady Hunt. Well, what does that look like? What's the playing time and how you fit Michael Smith with his athleticism, 6'6", 255 with receiver-like skills? How does that fit in? So I think there's some interesting little smaller questions that are going to fit into the bigger picture as well that, Saturday will maybe help answer those too.
Well, I think we have a great bit of evidence at this point that they do love this tight end room overall.
Yes.
So that's another sort of factor and goes along with what you're saying. At what point, if 3 receivers don't step up and you just feel super comfortable with 3, I'm not saying you're always going to be in 2 tight ends, but if you're a receiver, you're not only competing with your receiver room, you're competing with the tight end room, you're competing with the running back room in terms of personnel. What is the base personnel of this offense? Like any offense, they're going to be multiple. However, game one, like when you're just in your base, hey, this is what we want to be, is it what has kind of become your standard around college football for most teams? 3 receivers, a tight end, and a running back? Or is it, no, we feel better about our tight ends in terms of guys being consistent? Is it, your 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, and a back? Like, I think that's still very much a question and something that's up in the air.
Splintering off of this conversation, a lot of questions about who's going to be redshirting, who's going to get a fair amount of playing time from the younger guys on this roster, which we'll dive into coming up next. But as we get closer to the start of football season, you guys have some special stuff going on over at Gamecock Central for those that may not be subscribed.
Yes, we do. If you're not a subscriber, first of all, what are you even doing? Second of all, I'm hurt. Third of all, come try us out. If you are a new subscriber, you can get an annual right now for 50% off. Chris, do you know the code off the top of your head?
I've got it memorized. It's Kickoff 24.
There you go. So go to GamecockCentral.com, hit subscribe, hit Kickoff 24 in the promo field. You'll get 50% off your first year of the site, and then you'll just want to stay because we'll have you hooked.
Absolutely. We'll dive into something that you guys wrote about on Gamecock Central just today, and that is red shirts, who does get one and who will get a lot of playing time this upcoming season. That's coming up next is Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Friday on the Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach. The Game Network. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality. The Game TV. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Just last night, I was talking with my wife. Like, we got to get Integrated Media to come back out. We were looking at the outdoor setup situation. Like, fall is actually not that far around the corner. Watching some college football. We want to be able to do that outside. We don't have a great setup for that. So we're going to call our friends over at Integrated Media, Michael, Nathan, their entire team. They've been out to our home for other projects, including mounting a television inside for us, getting our video game system set up on a switcher. They've been to West Mitchell's home, too, for different projects. They can come out to yours, 803-948-8327. Go to integratedmediainc.com, or you can check out their Instagram and their Facebook pages at Integrated Media Columbia for some inspiration.
Dude, if you're getting them back out, I'm jealous. I'm getting them back to my house, too. So
let's do it. We'll back-to-back days scheduling.
Yes, make it happen.
If they're not too busy. Hopefully you can help keep them busy, too. Have them come out to your home. IntegratedMediaInc.com, 803-948-8327.
The Gamecock Go Pass is back. For only $20 a month, you'll receive access to all non-conference football games, most men's and women's basketball and baseball games, and all softball, soccer, and volleyball games. To learn more about the Gamecock Go Pass, visit thegamecockclub.com/go.
I'm here with the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder of First Palmetto Bank. Jacob, tell me more about this 4.99% 30-year fixed product you are offering in Richland County.
We have a community reinvestment product in the areas of Richland County. Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor are areas that we're offering the 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. We are underserving these areas, so the bank is offering 100% purchase loans at 4.99% on a 30-year fixed. No points, no mortgage insurance, no gimmicks, just lower payments.
4.99% is awesome. What's a payment look like?
Yes, Bill. A payment on $200,000 at that APR is at $1,072 a month for 360 months. A payment on $300,000 is at $1,608. These estimates do not include taxes and insurance. These loans are only for primary residences, and the loan amounts are capped at $300,000. Call me today. My number is 803-719-1005, or you can email me at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com.
All loans are subject to credit approval and property appraisal. First Palmetto Bank is a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender. My NMLS number is 198432.
107.5 The Game Football Kickoff Tournament is coming up Friday, August 23rd at Charwood Golf Club, where one lucky winner will receive season tickets to South Carolina home football games. Call Charwood to register your foursome. We'll see you August 23rd at Charwood.
Keep your heating and air system operating at tip-top performance.
The cleaner you keep the system, the more efficiently it's going to run for you.
We come out, we clean the coils, change the filters.
Visit allamericanheatingandair.com to receive an instant $25 coupon toward your system's maintenance agreement.
Helping your home and all that you need to put you at ease. When you need us, we're there. All American Heating and Air.
Let our family help your family. We're all American.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you here on the game on your Friday. Next Friday, by the way, going to be out at our Summer Golf Classic at Charwood in West Columbia. If you want to sign up, give Charwood a call, 803-755-2000 to register. Again, 803-755-2000 to register. At that point in time, we'll be just 8 days away from the season starting against Old Dominion. And one thing that a game like Old Dominion, again, assuming Carolina can handle their business and win the game pretty handily, you can get a lot of guys on the field. And in today's world of college football, I love the fact that young guys can play in at least 4 games and still preserve their red shirt, get them some experience, and, still be able to maintain your roster for years down the road. Big question this year is which guys get the red shirt and which guys don't. There's some names that certainly make a good case for getting on the field quite a bit this year, and some guys that are kind of towing that line between being out there for experience but not really contributing consistently.
Well, we give the NCAA a hard time, right? But the 4-game rule is a good common sense rule that's been around, 4 or 5 years now,
yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
And I think pretty much everybody is like, yeah, that makes sense. Nobody's complaining about that rule. And you can kind of, if you're smart, you can kind of manipulate it a little bit if you need extra special teams depth. You can kind of be like, all right, we're gonna roll this guy out there for these 4 games, and then this guy out there for the next 4, and sort of maintain some red shirts while increasing your depth on special teams, especially if you're trying to limit the snaps of your starters. And so I think you look at the class last year, a bunch of guys played. You look at this, what is a 15-man high school class for South Carolina of newcomers, and I was doing what we do every year. Either myself or Chris will look through and say, all right, let's try to predict these things out. And inevitably, there's always a guy or two that kind of you have a surprising outcome, I think, Chris. And but for the most part, I found myself going, all right, that's an easy, that's a layup in terms of predicting what's going to happen. Like I think you look at just right off the bat, okay, assuming health with all these guys. So Josiah Thompson at left tackle plays easy, check it off. That's happening. Dylan Stewart plays. Michael Smith plays. Mazio Bennett plays. DeLewis Solomon plays. Let's see. Those were probably the layups, in my opinion. J.R. Johnson, I've heard enough about him that maybe not quite the wide-open layup prediction as the other ones, but fairly close. And so I have J.R. Johnson as playing. It's after that group that there were several guys that I thought really could go either way. And among them, let me tell you one of my first ones that I kind of went back and forth on. Running back Matthew Fuller.
Yep.
I leaned plays. And in today's college football world, some of these I took like a micro approach. Some I took like a macro approach in that, hey, if I'm unsure, they're probably going to play. Because I feel like teams just are like, you know what, with transfer portal and just the way college football is now, you're not really saving anybody unless it's just like makes complete sense to redshirt them. There's no reason at all to play him. Or sometimes with a quarterback, you're a little bit more like, all right, let's save his eligibility and try to make these classes match up. Matthew Fuller has a bunch of experienced guys ahead of him. However, I call it a gut feeling. I think this guy ultimately finds his way onto the field. Now, some of this, if you want to get micro, is he in front of or behind like a DJ Braswell, I think. So that may be a determining factor here. But I leaned plays on Fuller.
Let me ask you this. When it comes to Fuller, what was your prediction for Braswell a season ago? Now, that was a different situation because the running back room was a lot thinner, and he was on track to redshirt until Juju got hurt, and then you had to use him because you didn't have the depth there. Did y'all believe he was going to redshirt last year or think he was going to play?
I think you did the redshirt article last, but I would have put him.
West punted. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I would have put him in the plays category.
I think so too.
But then, actually, the way it planned out, that would have been correct, but kind of by default, like they were obviously trying to redshirt him.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what, going back to the Birdies with Beamer, just chatting with Montario Hardesty, the running backs coach at the time, like I would have said plays and actually felt pretty comfortable with it based on what he was telling me, not necessarily like an off the record, hey, conversation, but not being recorded either, just sort of chatting.
Yeah.
And they were very high on DJ Braswell finding his way into the rotation. And it never quite happened until those injuries started to stack up, and it really appeared like they wanted to redshirt him. So you can have you're going to be wrong on a few of these based on circumstance.
Sure.
And so you can be planned to play, and then you don't, or vice versa.
I'm gonna do a rare disagree with you.
You think Fuller redshirts?
Yeah, and not because I think he could be ready to play. I just look at it as there's limits to how many snaps are in a game, and you also have the fact of the 4 redshirts. I mean, Matt Fuller could play in 4 games. He could play a decent amount in those 4 games.
Yes.
And he still ends up redshirting and would fall in the redshirt category then. So I just think you look at Rocket Sanders, Oscar Attaway, who's played a lot of ball. Jawarn Howell's a young player, but we've heard lots of buzz about him too. You do still have Juju in the mix, and you have Braswell, who, has talent. Former 4-star guy who's fast, who got his feet wet last year. So I just think now Fuller I'm going to beat out a few of these guys.
What if he's just a dude?
He might be a dude. So that's just how I feel about it right now. Heck, opinion might change. We might hear Saturday, all right, Matt Fuller's too good. We'll have to play him over some other guys and see what happens.
Break the tie, Tyler.
I'll go with redshirt. I just think so much depth there. Again, you have the opportunity to play in multiple games like they were doing with Braswell a season ago that I don't think, again, knock on wood, hopefully you don't have the amount of injuries like you had on the offensive line. I don't think you're going to need to, but as you've said, sometimes you just have a guy that makes so much of a case for himself, you can't keep him off the field. And if that happens, great. That means he's going to be a star in this backfield and going to set you up for success going forward. We'll continue on this conversation because there's a couple other names to get to, as well as kind of an interesting conversation about what redshirting means in today's world of college football. With that coming up, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Friday on The Game.
107.5 The Game. In Columbia. 100.5 The Game. In Florence. 100.3 The Game. In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Ever been on this date?
You're a good-looking man.
Thank you.
Very pretty. Real soft, delicate features. They're real feminine.
And thought, man, I'd rather be listening to The Game right now.
Welcome in to the afternoon show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips.
Well, just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app. Sure, you may no longer be with that person anymore, but you'll never be without the game again.
So many options from our friends over at Firehouse Subs. Shout out to Larry Chandler, owner-operator of all 14 Midlands Firehouse Subs locations. No matter where you are around the Midlands, there's a Firehouse Subs closest to you. Go check out firehousesubs.com, or my favorite method, download the Firehouse Subs app. There you can register for a free account, and when you order using the Rapid Rescue to Go to avoid the wait and order online, you can earn yourself some rewards toward future purchases. We've certainly racked up a bunch of points in our years of ordering Firehouse Subs for lunch, dinner. They also have great catering options. Sitting there looking at one of their boxes, it includes chips, cookies. You can just order a day in advance from small bites to big feasts. They've got you covered. Start thinking about that for your tailgates this season for South Carolina football. Again, firehousesubs.com or the Firehouse Subs app. Whether you need catering, you want lunch, you want dinner, use the Rapid Rescue to Go to avoid the wait, order online, and earn yourself some rewards. firehousesubs.com.
There's never been a more affordable way to get on the water than during the inventory clearance sale at Mid-Carolina Marine. Get the boat of your dreams and cruise away with unbeatable savings on center consoles, bay boats, pontoons, deck boats, and more. Special rock bottom pricing on remaining Stingray boats and Berkshire pontoons. Create lifelong memories with these affordable boats, perfectly designed for family fun and excitement. Make this the year you finally get on the water. 718 Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, or visit midcarolinamarine.com.
Don't let the season fool you. It's pool time in the Midlands. Hi, I'm Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Loans. We have the experts in custom pool design and installation. The summer months might be flying away, but in the Midlands, the heat is here to stay. Dive into comfort and beat the heat all year round. Call Midlands Landscape today and make your dream pool a reality. MidlandsLandscape.com.
You already know that Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union offers truly free checking and great rates on auto loans, but did you know they do mortgages too? Whether you need a first or second mortgage, a home equity line of credit, or a loan for construction, renovation, a lot, or a manufactured home, Palmetto Citizens has you covered. They're a community financial institution based solely here in the Midlands, so they offer a refreshingly simple mortgage process you won't get from the big banks or online lenders. Along with a great rate, the Palmetto Citizens Mortgage Team will work with you to tailor the loan to best fit your needs and budget. Apply for your mortgage today by visiting palmettocitizens.org or stopping by any of their 14 branches across the Midlands. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving this community since 1936. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 449962. Approval based on credit worthiness. Certain restrictions may apply.
Get ready to smile because Herndon Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy dealer, is offering an amazing deal right now. Get up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Yes, you heard that right. Up to $20,000 off. Don't wait. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Chevy, together let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile, smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
We are so excited. Sound and Images has upgraded to a phenomenal facility at 807 Bluff Road, right there across the street from our friends at the State Fair. We have new upgraded facilities, video conferencing room experience that will seat up to 35 people depending on configuration. We also have meeting space and venue space on property to offer our partners at Sound and Images. Please contact Sound and Images at soundandimages.net, your commercial AV installation and live event production specialists.
Take advantage of Zerorez Carpet Cleaning's Back to School BOGO sale. For a limited time, when you get 2 rooms cleaned, you'll get 2 additional rooms cleaned for free. Use promo code BOGO when scheduling online at ZerorezColumbia.com.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on your Friday here on the game, talking a lot about red shirts and who is going to play for South Carolina and who can preserve a year of eligibility. And the red shirt thing is very interesting. And I want to say the change to the rule was made in line with when the transfer portal came about. But, of course, now the transfer portal is more wide open than ever because a lot more of the restrictions are gone. As a program, you really have to balance who redshirts and who doesn't because while, yes, you may be preserving a guy's year of eligibility, they may see that as a knock that, hey, I didn't get on the field as a freshman or whatever it may be. I'm going to go somewhere else instead because I'm not getting the playing time that I want here. So that's a balance that you really have to be careful about when you're talking about these guys, who plays and who doesn't.
And redshirting is not inherently bad, but I think if you're a competitor, you're a player, you were one of the top players on your team every step of the way coming up before you got to college. So then to be told, basically in your eyes, hey, we don't need you this year, that probably can be a fairly crushing blow at one point that you have to accept. And, I think for a lot of guys, it used to be there was this barrier to transfer, and we've talked about this before. Now that barrier does not exist, so it's very easy. Like, I can't tell you how many times in the past, before the portal, we would hear something like, hey, look out, this guy, he kind of wants to transfer out. He's not playing much, and they'd be like a freshman, and it would never happen. And sometimes it would be a guy who just ended up being like a huge part of the program in a year, but they just were not seeing the long-term plan.
Yep.
Deebo Samuel considered transferring after the coaching change, and
Which I feel like we should play some breaking news music.
Can you imagine that? So guys think about transferring all the time, but now it's easier than ever to do it. So I do think you've got to balance a lot of things. Now, can you get them out there for 4 games? Be like, hey man, we want to get you in here. We want you to be a part of the team, but we want to maintain that redshirt status. Maybe that's a best of both worlds for some guys. You get them a taste, but don't sort of burn the entire year. So the guys, I'll tell you, the guys that I had sort of redshirting, like I feel fairly confident about them. And again, this is not a bad thing. Some of it is just positionally based. Like I think Cam Pringle, with all the older guys ahead of him on the O-line, I think he probably redshirts. I think you look at Blake Franks, similar situation. Dante Reno, again, quarterbacks, they more than likely redshirt. DeBron Gatling, I think you look at what's ahead of him at receiver, and he missed time in the spring dealing with an injury. We haven't heard as much about him, so I would lean him into the redshirt category. But then there are several other guys, or a few other guys, that I was kind of up in the air on, partially because of special teams. Like there will be a guy or two on this list that maybe doesn't play much at all on offense or defense, but remember like a Maurice Brown last year, who was a walk-on, true freshman, but played, I think, in every game or almost every game because he was on so many special teams. He was a starter on special teams. So here, I'm going to throw out these guys that were kind of toss-ups to me, and y'all can kind of grab whichever one you want to hit on. So, again, I had J.R. Johnson into the plays category, but I had Wendell Gregory. I put him as redshirt, but I didn't allow toss-ups on this. I was like, you have to make a prediction. Like, I put that in line for myself. But if there was a toss-up category, Wendell Gregory would have been toss-up for me. Kelvin Hunter would be toss-up for me. Another guy, think about the special teams plays he made in high school. And David Busey have as a sleeper play guy, but would be a toss-up. And actually, Mason Love has quietly worked his way into toss-up category. So,
but you picked him as a.
I picked him as red shirt.
Yeah.
For now.
I wasn't he working towards being the kickoff guy though?
Well, see, I think kickoff guy, and Beamer said don't panic on the kickers, but that it's been inconsistent. So he is in that mix, kind of as well. So, I think there's a chance that one potentially shifts.
Could be like the Mitch Jeter plan. Mitch started getting on the field. Now Love is a punter, more of a natural punter as opposed to Mitch Jeter being a kicker. But Mitch first got on the field being a kickoff guy.
Yeah. Didn't Mitch redshirt his first year or no?
I think he did.
Wasn't he the kickoff guy as a redshirt freshman?
Yeah. But I just meant like he might follow that path even more accelerated.
And Love place kicked quite a bit his senior year in high school and was very good.
Now, Mitch in 2020 was a true freshman.
Okay.
He kicked off. I forgot about that. And then second year also was the kickoff guy. It was really 2022 when he won that job and he kind of took it over. So the ones that came to mind I'll agree with your assessment on Love.
For now. I feel like that's one. I could do this again in a week and a half. Most of them I don't think would change, but these toss-up ones I could literally see them going either way.
So I think if I had,
tell me where I'm wrong. How about that?
If I had to pick, I'm gonna go Hunter and Busey red shirt.
Really?
Yeah, but I get your logic, especially with Hunter because he did make a lot of special teams plays in high school. He had a knack for blocking punts and kicks.
I just think these guys are going to be like your Maurice Browns for this year.
I could see that. So, how many games do you have that in front of you? How many games Maurice Brown played in?
It was like 10.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. But I'm looking in terms more body types. So when you think about DB, obviously South Carolina kind of has, they got a few more questions like at safety where Hunter is more of like a nickel safety, Busey's a safety. And if they are going to find a path on the field, even though South Carolina is a little thinner at safety, I think it's probably still on special teams. But then the question becomes, okay, well, how much? Like, whose spot are they taking on special teams? So are they going to take away a spot from, say, Gerald Kilgore or David Spalding, who we forget he's on the team sometimes, but he's played a lot of ball here and could play multiple spots. Really, he could play anywhere in the secondary. He could play on special teams. Some of the corners that are in the mix for that other corner spot. So Vakari Swain, Emery Floyd, Judge Collier. So I think that's what it becomes for me is, those guys could prove themselves worthy to play on special teams, but on special teams, are they going to beat out guys that have been here longer that are similar body types that are also DBs, and are they going to do that for more than 4 games? And so that's why I'm saying red shirt for now, but I certainly would not be surprised if it's a play for one or both.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like maybe the redshirt thing is almost kind of a cop-out because I guess everybody could find their way onto the field at special teams at some point. The conversation between J.R. Johnson and Wendell Gregory is interesting, and I want to think about it from the standpoint of just playing linebacker because this is a very experienced room. We've already talked plenty about Debo. We know we got in, Demetrius Knight, guys like that. I think the question becomes, how deep is this rotation going to be? How many guys are you going to be cycling through, depending on if you're playing 3 guys or 2 guys, depending on your defensive scheme? How many guys are going to be in your regular rotation getting on the field? Do you go deep enough to have JR and Wendell being out there at any sort of consistent clip, or do you just try and go with maybe only 4 or 5 guys?
JR's playing. Period. I don't think there's any way JR's not playing.
Right.
And you lose all those guys next year. Almost all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to exaggerate. You lose most of that room next year. you want JR, and maybe with Wendell, you have to get Wendell in 4 games at least, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So maybe at that point, are you saying, look, it also depends on, can you get some big leads in some games, which we know there's only several probably opportunities for that. You're going to be in a bunch of close football games. But I think, I mean, JR, it's been a little bit more muted during the fall, or preseason, I should say. I mean, there was talk that JR is going to take some people's snaps this year going into preseason. So I don't think it has to be both of them. Like, it doesn't have to be they both play or they both redshirt. Like, right. It could be either or. What does Mo Kaba's recovery look like? Like, that's a part of this conversation as well, because then that's one more guy that you can rotate in there if you're South Carolina. Jaron Willis is still in there too. Like, I think J.R. Johnson just came in and moved up this depth chart incredibly quickly to the extent of, again, I'd be pretty surprised if he does not play. I think Gregory is a little bit more up in the air.
I do think you had J.R. Johnson in the layup category, right, that he plays over 4?
I said this isn't quite the layup as
right. I saw
Dylan,
that.
Josiah,
It's
Michael,
still a layup.
But it's a contested layup.
Remember we were talking about that yesterday when you have to make the layup at the basketball game?
Oh, yeah, the contest where they put you in front of everyone and they say, hit a layup, a free throw, a three-pointer, and if you do all these in 12 seconds, we'll give you a free car.
And a half-court shot. Yeah, it's like, layup, I got that. I don't know about the other ones. Layup's easy, and then you go out there and you have to make the layup in front of everybody.
With everybody's eyes right on you.
But the point I'm making, I just wanted some clarity. Like, out of the layup category, I do agree with your assessment that, like, would I be flabbergasted after the season if we're like, well, JR just played in 4 games? I'd be, like, surprised. But when I look up and down at the scholarship breakdown on GamecockCentral.com, you got Debo Williams, Bam Scott, Demetrius Knight, Gali Kamara. Like, whew. That's a legitimate 2 deep. Now, maybe JR is better than one of those guys, but those guys are all experienced. They're seniors. They're pretty good as well. So I wouldn't be sure.
So is it a hot take for me that he absolutely plays?
No. Not a hot take at all. I'm just saying I think even in the layup category, there's levels. Like there's a difference between the impact that Dylan Stewart is going to make versus J.R. Johnson. And I think J.R. is good enough to play lots, but he's got more guys in front of him, And I think the buzz with Dylan has been even greater from spring to summer to now.
Mm-hmm. We're not in the hot take business here. Just straight facts.
I mean, I was hoping I actually had a hot take. I rarely feel like I do.
We'll come back, wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Take a look at which Gamecocks made their way onto preseason awards watch list. Quite a few. We'll dive into that next here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour on the Game.
All right, guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Midlands Home Renovations. Head on over right now to MidlandsHomeRenovations.com or give them a call, 803-866-8197 to get a free quote. On that website, you can get more information about all of their services, their service area, and you can check out a photo gallery of all the stuff they've done in the past here in the area. Of course, they can do pretty much anything that you can dream up for your home. They really specialize in kitchen remodeling, bathroom remodeling, but again, whatever you want to do for that home makeover, they're going to take your vision, they're going to take your thoughts, they're going to take your drawings you've scribbled down on that piece of paper, and then they are going to take it and bring it to life for you and help you just completely recreate your home space. So if that sounds good to you, hit them up right now, MidlandsHomeRenovations.com or 803-866-8197.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network. The Game's Summer Golf Classic Golf Tournament is coming.
Sign up start the week of July 29th. Call Charwood at 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome. One lucky player will win a pair of season tickets to all Gamecocks home football games.
The Games 2024 Summer Golf Classic is August 23rd at Charwood. Call 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome.
This is Maggie Gray with a Sports Minute, sponsored by Wrangler. It's Wrangler season out there. Open roads, endless horizons. Shop Wrangler.com for new denim styles. Football icon John Madden is getting the Hollywood treatment. Yes, a new movie about the coach, broadcaster, and video game mogul is in development, and playing the legend is Nicolas Cage. To be honest, I could see Cage playing Raiders owner Al Davis more than Madden. Either way, I'll be buying a ticket. I'm Maggie Gray.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off. From first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Nice! Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
Save on O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner. Get 2 cans of O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner for just $8. Valid in-store only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit CantyCanFixIt.com.
Point! Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace! You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at Metamucil.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You haven't tasted real Carolina barbecue until you've experienced Little Pigs Barbecue. Full service dine-in buffet with barbecue, ribs, brisket, chicken, rice, hash, tomato pie, macaroni and cheese, and many more of your favorites. Eat in or take out. Little Pigs Barbecue on Alpine Road has new hours. Now open from 11 to 8 Thursday through Saturday and 11 to 3 on Sunday. Little Pigs Barbecue on Alpine Road. Little Pigs family looks forward to seeing you.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on your Friday here on the game. Again, 15 days away from kickoff, South Carolina and Old Dominion. Coming up in week number 1 as we get closer to the season, we get a lot of watch lists for the respective college football awards, which get announced in December leading up to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And pleased to say, quite a few Gamecocks made their way on to several different watch list for awards, including guys like Rocket and Debo that actually found their way onto multiple awards as well.
We got Demetrius Knight on there too, right?
Demetrius Knight on there as well. Him and Debo both on the watch list for the Butkus Award, which goes to the best linebacker. We got Rocket, as I mentioned. He's on the Doak Walker as well as the Maxwell Award watch list. Debo also on the Nagurski Award list. You got Boogie on the Werfel Award. No surprise, Kai Kroger on the Ray Guy Award. So the list goes on and on of potential Gamecocks that could be taking on some hardware in December.
Is Nagurski best defensive player any position?
I believe so.
Butkus is best linebacker?
Butkus best linebacker. Let's see. Nagurski, nation's most outstanding defensive player.
Mm-hmm. Doak Walker, best running back.
Yes. Maxwell is just best overall player.
Who was on that?
That was Maxwell is Rocket again.
Okay. There's some respect for Rocket out there. Right, I mean, rightfully so. But he was a little under the radar, I think. But I also think you can't sit there and just say the blind, like, oh, nobody's talking about him. People, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, people have started to be like, okay, this guy 2 years ago was a monster.
I think it's people having to remember. You know what I mean? Because college football is very much a what have you done for me lately type sport. And when you have a year riddled by injuries, people kind of forget about you a little bit.
I mean, we walked in, Chris Doring on SEC Network had Rocket. He was talking, I mean, that wasn't just newcomers, right? Like, that was, I think, top 5 playmakers in the SEC.
Yeah, because, I mean, ETN was on there for Georgia.
But he's a newcomer for them.
So you mean transfers?
Yeah.
No, I think it was just general overall playmakers.
I mean, that's pretty high praise.
Yeah.
I don't know who else was in there.
I just glanced up and saw it as it was going off.
I know, I agree. There was somebody from LSU.
Like, was Luther Burden?
Luther Burden was on there.
Okay, so yeah.
So it's not just transfers, yeah. That's pretty.
So yeah, so you can't be like, nobody's talking about this guy. Like, people who really pay attention are going, remember what he did at Arkansas 2 years ago. And again, what does that look like with South Carolina? What does that look like in the same backfield with the Lenore Sellers? And I think if you're a Gamecock fan and you're looking for somewhere to hang your hat on what can I be excited about, it's that. And I think you look around the league, man, some people maybe rolled their eyes just a little bit when they heard, Rocket's he did not participate in the last scrimmage. But then you see, hey, Kentucky's running back is banged up. Texas is missing. Are they missing 2 backs now for the season, I think? A&M, I know at least one is out for the season.
Yeah, at least one.
A&M's back is out for the season. And so now you're kind of like, all right, just get this guy to game 1.
I view Rocket much like I did like Julio Jones when he was with the Falcons, where he was always banged up. He routinely missed like Wednesday practice. It was always, hey, Julio didn't play today. Okay, is he going to be good on Sunday? All right, fine. And went out there and balled out. So, like, we know what Rocket is, and as long as he stays healthy, stays close to 100%, he should be fine. So, yeah, if he has to sit out practice, that's cool. Like, we know what we have with him at full strength.
Yeah, and I think getting him to the season at full strength should be priority number 1, in my opinion.
Trying to pull up Doring's top 5 playmakers. It looks like, here's a narrowed down. Hold on, I'm going to give them to you. So, Eugene Wilson from, it looks like, oh yeah, that tricked me, the ETN. Eugene Wilson from Florida was one. Trevor Etienne was one. Florida to Georgia, played for Georgia this year. Rocket Sanders. Trey Harris from Ole Miss. And there's one more in here.
Wide receiver.
Luther Burden.
Wide receiver? Is Trey Harris a wide receiver?
I think
he's one of the running backs, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, so Ole Miss has so many running backs and receivers that it's hard to. He is a receiver.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
dude, they got like 3 or 4, including our boy Juice.
Yeah, Rashad Amos, running back. They got a bunch of guys, so that is pretty good company though. There's a ton of playmakers.
That's respect.
Yeah. And you know, Gamecocks are taking home awards in December. That probably means we had a pretty good season overall. So hopefully that's the case. That'll do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Halftime show with myself, Terry Ford, up next on your Friday on the Game.
1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
When someone first comes in and you see that discouragement on their face, they've tried so many different products, but nothing seemed to work for them. I'm able to take that and turn it into hope.
You're listening to Mallory, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
They try the arch supports. You see their face brighten up from feeling discouraged to being happy and hopeful again. We're helping people. We're able to take them from the pain to the possibilities.
Try them for yourself with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
Honey, would you take a seat? I have a confession to make.
What is it? What's wrong?
Well, I was out driving today and I saw some hookers on the side of the road. A bunch of huge, professional, beautiful-looking hookers. So I did what I was supposed to do. I slowed down and I moved over.
You slowed down for the hookers?
Well, yeah, it's the law. There was a whole fleet of Schroeder's towing trucks assisting with an accident. Wait, what did you think I was talking about?
Schroeder's Towing reminds you to slow down and move over for all first responders.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
It's the Love Chevrolet Countdown to Gamecock Football.
15 days till kickoff.
Winner of Chevrolet's Mark of Excellence Award for Best in-Class Customer Experience. Maybe that's what Love customers love so much about Love Chevy. I-26 in Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account,